Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to today's tutorial. In today's tutorial, we learn about robotic process automation, also known as RPA, and the tool that we are going to use is Power Automate Desktop. Power Automate Desktop is a Windows-based desktop automation tool that enables you to automate tasks which are repetitive and boring. The tool is built on no-code platform, which means that you do not need any prior coding experience. All you need to do is drag and drop the actions on the user interface or the Power Automate user interface and go ahead and build your workflow. That being said, Power Automate Desktop also goes ahead and integrates with a wide variety of applications, including SharePoint, Excel, and many others. So if you are going to go ahead and automate business processes or the processes that are repetitive, I think Power Automate Desktop is the tools for you. That being said, when we talk about robotic process automation, the first question that you might have is, what is robotic process automation? So as I told you, Power Automate Desktop is a tool or a software that is installed on your computer. The software acts like a robot or a bot. This particular robot or a bot will mimic human actions and automate everyday's tasks. So what is robotic process automation? A piece of software that mimics human actions to automate everyday tasks is known as robotic process automation. So that being said, enough of talking and let's get into Power Automate Desktop. And I will show you an example which will include a wide variety of automation and help you get started with this tool. Once you go ahead and install Power Automate, you will see this particular screen. On this particular screen itself, you'll find a variety of examples. So this is a good place where you can start with. As I told you, you can do a lot of automation such as Excel automation, web automation, UI automation, desktop automation, and so on. In this particular tutorial, we'll focus on many things, and I have created a tutorial which will help you understand a wide variety of concepts. So what is our use case? So our use case would be to go ahead and do web scraping. That is, you need to go ahead and scrape all the links from my blog, okay? The scraping should have the HTML or the href and the titles of my blogs. All this should be in an Excel file, and that particular Excel file should be saved onto my local desktop. That being said, this sounds easy, isn't it? But however, there are some complexities such as error handling, and also we will understand how we can send this data and connect it with Power Automate for Cloud and process it further. Sounds interesting, isn't it? Let's get into the demo. So here I have my Power Automate Desktop. I can go ahead and click on New Flow. I can give my flow a name. I'll say that Power Automate Demo. And I'll click on Create. Perfect. So this is how my Power Automate tool or my application looks like. A quick intro on the tool. On the left, you will find actions. These actions can be dropped into the designer canvas, which is in the center of your screen. The designer canvas has got two main screens, you can say, or two main pages. One is the main flow and the second is the subflow. As soon as you create a subflow, the subflow can be integrated with the main flow. On your right, you have variables. The input and output variables are usually used to go ahead and initialize the variables, and the flow variables are the output of the actions that you go ahead and configure. Okay? Confused? I've been a little bit quick. Don't worry, we'll go ahead and understand with the example. So one important thing that I told you is we want to mimic human activities, right? So if I if I want to go ahead and do it manually, how will I do it? I'll first go ahead and copy this text, correct? Copy it like this, launch my Excel file. Perfect. Launch my Excel file, paste the text. Actually, it also copied the link. And if I want the link, what I can do is that I can say copy link, right? And I can paste it like this. So this is how I can do it manually, right? But this is not the right way to do it. This will take forever for me to do it, right? So let's go ahead and see how we can go ahead and do it with Power Automate Desktop. I'll close my Excel. I'll close my browser. So what did I do first? I went ahead and launched my browser. So what I can do, I can say Power Automate Desktop, please launch my browser first. And where do I want to go when I launch my browser? I want to go on my blog site, right? So what is my blog site URL? It's clavinfernandez.wordpress.com, right? I can just paste it here. I have other configurations which I can do. For example, you can go ahead and clear the cache. You can clear cookies. You need to wait for the page to load. You can set up timeouts as of how much time is needed for the page to load. Then, if there's a pop-up, what to do with the pop-up? You can do nothing or basically just close it. And again, set timeouts. Okay. That being said, you can also configure on error. We'll come to the on error or the error handling in the later part of the tutorials. But as of now, what it will do is that it will create a flow variable named browser. And if you see, it will update the flow variables pane in your Power Automate Desktop application. So I'll click on save. You see, the first variable that it created was browser. Perfect, right? So next, what I want to do. As human, what did I do next? It was launching an Excel. So what I can do, I can type in Excel and I want to launch Excel. So I can say launch the Excel and launch it as a blank document, okay? Again, take a note that it creates a variable named Excel instance and it's a flow variable. Perfect, right? Now what I can do, I can go ahead and do web scraping, right? I was copying it manually, right? And I was trying to get data out of it. So let me go ahead and first run these two things such that my browser gets launched and my Excel gets launched. So it launched my browser. Perfect, right? And now it's trying to launch the Excel. And the Excel has launched as well. So the first two steps are working as expected. Perfect. I'll close the Excel as of now. So now I want to capture the UI elements. So how do I do it? I go ahead and click on record. Right? This particular pane goes ahead and opens. And at this point of time, I can click on record and I can go ahead and select some text. Right? So I can click here. Right? I can right click and I can say, what do I need? I first need the text, right? And I also need the link associated or the href associated with it. Similarly, I also can do it for the other things, right? I can go ahead and say extract text and then go ahead and extract the href for it. But do you think it's actually good to go ahead and do all the things manually? Power Automate Desktop should do it automatically, right? And if you see, I did not go ahead and select the third or the fourth. Power Automate Desktop is intelligent enough to go ahead and say that there's a pattern that has been detected and we will follow that pattern. So what can I do? I can just clear off the first element and I'm interested in the second element itself. So what have you learned, my friends? You have learned web scraping, or you have learned how to go ahead and extract data out of your web page, right? So I'll click on done, and here, my friends, it has gone ahead and got the data out of it. Next, what I want to do, I want to go ahead and add this data to the Excel file, right? So I want to write it to the Excel file. So I can say write, can go here and I can write to an Excel worksheet. And to this worksheet, I want to write the output data, right? Because output data is returned by the extract data from web page action. I can specify a column. A column is A, right? A column is A. And the row would be the first row. I can say, just go ahead and add it to the first row as of now. And I can click on save, right? At this point, what I can do, I can click on run. It launches my browser. Then it launches my Excel as well. And it has filled in 10 items. It has filled in 10 items. But do you think I have only 10 blogs in my blog site? No, right? So if I scroll down, the last blog is fill PDF with this particular blog, right? And if I scroll down, you see that something happens in the URL. It tells me that I'm going to page 2. So what is Power Automate Desktop doing as of now? It's only extracting the data from the first page. And how many pages do I have? Only 2. Let me go ahead and change it. Maybe I'll put in 12. I have more than 12 pages, it seems. So I can go ahead and put in 13. Yeah, I have approximately 13 pages, right? But we don't want to go ahead and hard code 13, right? We want to go ahead and do everything on a fly. So let me again close the Excel. I'll say don't save. I'll copy this URL and keep it handy with me, okay? As of now, I'll keep it handy. So what do I need to do? I need to go ahead and loop through the files, correct? So what I can do is I can say loop. So what you're going to do is you're going to add a loop and start from where? Start from 1 and end at, we have 13, we know, but let's consider you don't know how many pages are there. We'll just set up 100, right? And we'll increment by 1. Perfect, right? Now what I can do is, once the loop has started, I want to go to a particular page, right? I want to go to a particular page. So I can say go to web page, and I can put in a URL. I can put in a URL. But this time, instead of 13, I can go ahead and pass in the loop index. It starts with 1. Understand this. It starts with 1. So every time it goes through a loop, it will increment it. I'll save it here. Okay, I'll save it here. Similarly, I want to go ahead and drag other actions out here. Isn't that what I need? Yes, that's all I need. I can go ahead and I can actually get rid of these things as well because I don't need it. And that's not needed. Those are just text, right? So as of now, what I need to do, I want to launch my Excel, launch the browser, launch Excel, go into a loop, go to the web pages based on the loop index, and then extract data out of it and add it to the Excel file. So will this work? Any guesses? Let's see. So the Excel has launched. Sorry, the browser has launched. Okay, it has launched the Excel as well. If you see, it goes to page number 2. But what is really happening? If you see, it's not going ahead and appending the text. It's just going ahead and overwriting the text again and again from column 1 and column A and row number 1. Is this what we need? No, right? This is not what we need. And in addition to that, you will also be curious what happens after page number 13. So let's see what happens at page number 13. And at this point, you get an error. This is not good. So we should handle this error, and we also need to append the text or append the data in the Excel. Now, how do we do that? First and foremost, I need to get the first free cell of a column from an Excel. So what I can do, I can say get first free row or the column from Excel. I'll just drag and drop it before the right Excel. Before writing it to Excel, I need to find it, right? And what I want to go ahead and find, I want to find the first free row or a column. And I'll say go and start at column number A, right? That's what it is needed. That being said, now I can write to my Excel, correct? So when I write to my Excel, what do I need to do? I need to go ahead and find the first free row. So how do I do that? I can go and click on FX and I can say first free row or a column. I can pass it here and I can click on save. That's it. That's how it can be done. But that being said, let's go ahead and run and see what really happens. So it launched my browser. That's perfect. Now it has also launched my Excel, by the way. Here it is. And if you see now, it's appending the data. So what did we do? We went ahead and automated web scraping, right? We are scraping data and we are adding it in the Excel file. You just think and imagine how much time it would have taken if you would have done this manually. And it would be very painful as well. And you have also learned how you can implement your logic and loops in it, right? But now you will again be curious what happens after page number 13. What really happens? It goes ahead and gives you an error. So let's go ahead and try to understand error handling. So let me just close the existing Excel files that have been opened. Let me close them and let's focus on error handling. So error happens out here, correct? And what really happens in the error? It goes ahead and tells us that failed to extract data, right? So how do we handle the error? We can use an on error. The on error is used to handle error and what you want to do when an error occurs. So the first thing that it tells you is you can go ahead and retry. We retry 1000 times, nothing will happen, okay? Because the element does not exist. So this ain't going to work for us. Next, what we can do, we can say, go continue the flow, right? Do we want to do that? No, we don't want to do that. We want to go ahead and throw an error, right? And then we can go ahead and manage errors. And managing errors can be done on these actions, right? When do we want to go ahead and manage the error? When it failed to extract the data, right? This is what is the error. So if you see failed extract data, so we want to manage the error here. So I can set up a new rule. In the rule, I can set up a variable or I can set up a subflow. Subflow is a very interesting concept, right? It's used to go ahead and break complex flows into smaller flows. And it can also be used for error handling. In this particular case, we don't have a subflow which can manage the error. So what should we do? We need to create one. So I'll click on the subflows drop down and I'll click on new flows and I'll name it error handling. Perfect. So this is our subflow canvas. So what do I need to do first? So firstly, whenever the error has occurred, I want to first go ahead and close my web browser, right? I want to close my web browser. The browser instance is fine. Then I want to save my Excel file. That's something that I want to do. I don't want to go ahead and just leave the Excel file open. I want to save the document. That's perfect. Then what I want to do, I want to go ahead and close my Excel file as well because it's saved, but is it closed? No, I want to close the Excel file. Don't want to leave it open. And finally, I want to say stop the flow, because that's the end of the process. You can say stop the flow and stop it with a successful message. Perfect, right? Now, what do we want to do? We want to go to the main flow. We want to go to the extract web page data. We want to double click on it. We want to click on error, and we want to click on advance. We want to click on what happens when you have failed to extract. And at that point, I want to run my subflow and I want to save it. And as soon as you do it, you see that it tells you that this step has got error handling enabled. So moment of truth, let's see if this works. So it launched my Firefox. Perfect. So it launched my Excel as well. If you see, Excel is getting updated. So what I can do is I can actually dock this somewhere here. Let me make it a little bit smaller. Right? It's going through the steps. We also want to know if the error handling is kicking in. If you see, I have got more than 70 blocks. That's awesome. And it's still going. Still going. It's on page number 14. If you see, my friends, it closed the browser, it saved the Excel, and it stopped my flow. So there is no error. Congratulations, you have automated your desktop or a business process which can be repetitive and boring. That being said, we want to go ahead and now pass the data. Let's consider that I want to make this loop index, right? This loop index. I want to go ahead and set up a start page. Let's say that instead of 1, I want to set up a start page from where I want to extract. And I want to start it from the cloud flow. So what I can do, I can first create a variable. And I can say start page, right? I can say start page. So data type, I can define a data type. For us, it's going to be number. The default is 0. Right? And once everything is done, I want to go ahead and pass all the URLs and all the text back to my cloud. So for that, I also need to create an output variable, right? So I'll say result, and I can just say results, maybe plural. It will be of type text, right? So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and use it with the cloud flow. To use it with the cloud flow, you need to go ahead and first make sure that you have got Power Automate machine runtime installed. Once you go ahead and install it and configure it, you can see the environments from which your flow can run. Right? So I have it configured. Installing is pretty straightforward. You can go to your Power Automate. You can click on settings, and if you don't have it installed, you'll find the installation package here. Just follow the default instructions and everything should be fine. So I'll minimize this. Next, I want to go into my environment, which is here, and I want to go ahead and configure my flow. So what do I need to do? I want to go ahead and first save my changes here. Perfect. My changes need to be saved. Next, I want to go into the Power Automate, or I want to go into my browser. I want to go ahead and create a new flow. Let's say that I just want to create a manual instant flow. I'll pass in the data from here. I can say, okay, create an input type of type number. I can say page. That's good. Next, I want to go ahead and run my Power Automate desktop flow. Right? So I want to click on this particular action. And what I want to do, I want to run a built-in Power Automate desktop action. From here, in the drop down, I can select the Power Automate and it will automatically populate. And I want to use the Power Automate that we created, that is Power Automate Desktop, Power Automate Demo, right? If you see, that's the name of our flow. As soon as I select it, it tells me, go ahead and select a run mode. Now you can run it in an attended, that is when you're signed in. But if you don't want to run it in an attended, maybe install this Power Automate Desktop on a remote server, then you need to use unattended. the licensing for unattended is different from attended. So do visit the licensing page. Okay, for this particular demo, I'm going to use attended. I want to pass it an input. I'll pass it what? I'll pass it the start page. Then finally, I want to go ahead and add a compose. And here, my friends, I want to log in the body, right? I'll give my flow a name, URL. That's good. But how will the result be populated? Have we done anything in our Power Automate desktop? The answer is no. So how do we go ahead and get the data? So first and foremost, okay, we need to apply some logic. When I say we need to apply some logic, we need to go ahead and create a text string. So what we want to do, we appended the data in Excel. So similarly, we can find an action, say append line of text. I can double click on it. I can click on save and it will drag and drop it here. I want to configure it. So what do I want to do? I want to go ahead and say original text. So what we want to do, we want to go ahead and append the line of text recursively. So how we can do that? So first and foremost, if you see, we need to pass it an original text. And the output is actually results. So if we want to go ahead and recursively do it, we need to set the output to the original text. Next, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and append a line. That is, append the original text that we want to go ahead and use. What is the original text? The original text would be the output of the Excel instance, right? So it's going to be output data. And because I want to recursively go ahead and append it, I can again go ahead and use the result out here. So understand this, my friends. I'm recursively doing it. That's why I'm recursively appending the result to the output data. And at this point, I can click on save. Next, what I want to do, I want to go ahead and send this, right? I want to send this to my Power Automate. And how can I do that? I can go ahead and create an output variable. And the output variable would be output data text, something like that. Output data text. And that's pretty much it. And here I can set the variable, that is, I can set the variable output data text to the result, right? I can save it. I can go back to my Power Automate. First things first, I need to go ahead and delete it so that it goes ahead and picks up the latest changes. Just to be sure, I'm going to save my Power Automate desktop here. I'll go back to my browser. I'll go ahead and add desktop flow, run built-in flow. I can click on the drop down, can select my flow, say the run mode is attended. It will ask me for a start page. That's perfect. And then I can log in the output, that is output data text. Now that being said, I can save this. I can also go back and let me quickly review my flow. Its start page has been set here. So in the loop, I'm going to set the start page here and I'll click on save. So that looks good as well. And moment of truth, my friends. Let's see if this works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start it manually. It will prompt me for a start page. And I'll pass in number 11. So start at number 11 and get me all the blocks after page number 11. Let's see if it works as expected. So the browser instance has actually launched. I can see the browser instance being launched. And it goes to page number 11. I can also see that my Excel has launched. So yes, Power Automate Cloud is talking to Power Automate Desktop. I can see that. And it went ahead and closed all the things. It saved all the things. And now if everything works as expected, the next thing would be that Power Automate Desktop sends the data to the Cloudflow and we log it in the compose action. So let's wait. Let's see if that does the trick. Perfect. So I see that my flow ran successfully. And here, my friends, I have the output, I have the inputs, I have the blocks from various pages, and I can use it further. So again, you have also learned how you can connect your Power Automate desktop to Power Automate Cloud and further extend the functionality. I hope this tutorial was informative. Thank you for your time and bye bye for now.